Let's start with Newt Gingrich and his explanation for his infidelity. Let's start with, let's bring in New York Magazine's John Heilemann and Solange Joan. Well, Joan, I can see with bated breath. I have never, of all the things I've heard in politics, nothing compares to this one. Here's Gingrich talking to David Brody on, of course, the Christian Broadcasting Network about his past.
You know the question, and I'm not going to ask it the way everybody else will ask it, but as it relates to the past and some of those personal issues that you've had, you've talked about how God is a forgiving God, and I'd like you to expand upon that as you went through some of those difficulties, how you saw God's forgiving nature in all of that.
Well, I mean, first of all, there's no question that at times in my life, partially driven by how passionately I felt about this country, that I worked far too hard, and that things happened in my life that were not appropriate. And what I can tell you is that when I did things that were wrong, I wasn't trapped in situation ethics. I was doing things that were wrong, and yet I was doing them. I found that I felt compelled to seek God's forgiveness.
I don't care how far right a person listening now is. I don't care how far they are in the tank for people like Gingrich and Huckabee, how deep in the tank, at the bottom of the ocean of the tank, they can buy this garbage. We've been listening to this Kenya talk that came from both these guys' mouths. It started with Newt, and it got virally over to Huckabee. And now we're hearing him say not the old canard of mistakes were made, but somehow he fell into the sack with somebody because he was so patriotic in his passion. Is the craziest, looniest talk. Just don't talk about your private life if you don't want to. But don't use the flag.
Don't use God and the flag.
The flag as somehow the cause of your problems, and somehow I don't even know where to begin. I don't know why this guy, or David Brody, even said, he should have vomited at that point. He should have said, this is not on my air. I'm going to throw away the tape. Nobody thinks like this. Nobody's going to believe this garbage. Why are we putting it on the air? Just put it away and start over again. Your thoughts, Joan? This is crazy talk. I'm going to play it again in a minute here. I'm so passionate in love with my country that I got involved and mistakes were made. In the middle of the Clinton impeachment, he's messing around with somebody in the House Ag Committee. Fine. I'm not saying fine, but that's his business. To bring it up now in some sort of toilet cleaning exercise so he can run for president. Go ahead, your thoughts.
It's just such rank hypocrisy. It's unbelievable. And I mean, how does that fly at home? Honey,
it's hypocrisy.
I thought so.
It's garbage. What's he talking about, Joan? Explicate this. Pretend it's a poem. Explain it's a poem. We're doing English Lit right now. Explain what this man is saying.
He's saying that he took his love for his country so seriously that he transferred it to a woman who wasn't his wife, but God will forgive him because he believes in a forgiving God. Thank God he believes in a forgiving God. He's got so much to forgive. But the other thing I want to point out here is there any evidence at all that Newt Gingrich believes in a forgiving God for anybody but Newt Gingrich? I mean,
we'll get to that part of his spread
He's such an unbelievable hypocrite. He's such a judgmental, medieval kind of guy.
You are so right. He's the one of God, and everybody else is a, quote, secular atheist elitist. Because you can't just disagree with him. You have to be, let's go in here. John Heilemann, my cousin, I have to tell you, I am thrilled by this because it's the everlasting proof of nonsense. Newt Gingrich could have just left his embarrassment behind him. Maybe we would have left it alone after a while. We would have gotten tired talking about it. But here he is bringing it back in this new light of it had something to do with the flag and patriotism. Here he is again, talking about why he got involved with somebody during his marriage, during the Clinton embarrassment. And here he is, it had something to do with the flag that's behind him right now, by the way. He thinks he's Patton. Let's go.
In a sense, our Judeo-Christian civilization is under attack from two fronts. On one front, you have a secular atheist elitism, and on the other front, you have radical Islamists. And both groups would like to eliminate our civilization if they could, for different reasons, but with equal passion.
Okay, he's fighting a two-front war. On one front is Barack Obama. That's, by the way, all the other references when he says secular atheist elitism, when he's not accusing Obama of being a Maoist, somebody over in Africa killing Brits. He's accusing him of being a secular atheist elitist. We got to be one or the other, don't you? Maybe, I don't know. Are Mau Mau people elitists? It's insane the way he talks.
Apparently, secular atheist elitists are the ones who are faithful to their wives and are in happy, happy families and happy marriages. That sounds like a pretty good argument for the far left, as far as I'm concerned. But look,
what scorecard is this guy using, by the way, that makes himself godly? And Barack Obama, who's had one marriage, has never done one thing wrong, has never been reprimanded by the House of Representatives, has never had ethical problems up the kazoo, whose kids are perfect, whose marriage is wondrous. And this guy, with all his background and baggage, has the nerve to call Barack Obama an atheist secularist. Where's he get that from?
It's almost painful to talk about these things because the hypocrisy is so obvious, and you know. But also I think that the political strategy is equally obvious. Look, I mean, he knows that the opening on the Republican side that he's going to try to fill, especially if Mike Huckabee and Sarah Palin don't run, is he's going to try to fill the Tea Party and the Christian evangelical part of the party. He's going to try to grab that piece of the primary and caucus electorate, and in order to do that, he has got to put some of this stuff behind him. And I think there is a calculated strategy to doing this. He wants to try to get all of this out on the table as early as possible, and then try to move on from it and get people to forget about it, because he knows it's this thing that could dog him throughout his entire candidacy. So he's trying to get it. He's trying to get it behind him. I agree with you about everything you said about the ham-handedness and the ridiculousness by which he's doing it. But that is the strategy here.
Right.
Vomit it all up right now and then move on.
Before we move on from Newt, just one last thought before we get to Huckabee here. I got it. Huckabee's still at it on this front. How does he work his way into the church tent? How does he, a guy I've never thought of as Mr. Religious, how does he work his way into the church tent and grab what I call the Western Conference of the Republican Party, the religious side? I mean, how does what are his bona fides? Joan first, I'm sorry. What are his bona fides here? What does he claim here as his greatness?
He claims that he has had a conversion to Catholicism, Chris.
Yeah.
You know, God bless him, he's entitled to do that. He also, this is really tricky, not even yet a Catholic. He got the Catholic Church to annul his last marriage, to declare it null and void, so he could have a third marriage, this time in the Catholic Church, which my church has a few things to answer for there. That is the kind of hypocrisy. He's pulling strings to have his marriage annulled so he can be a Catholic and he can become the candidate of the Christian right.
There is a Pauline privilege there.
You know what that's about. You know what that's about, guys. He's also having the adultery annulled.
Okay, well, let's take a look. Let's move on. I don't think you can say what. I mean, I don't know. What I don't like is he joins a new religion and uses it to be exclusionary and put down everybody else again.
Other people who are also religious. Does Joe Biden know that he's an atheist? Has anyone called him yet?
I don't think anybody knows that Joe's an elitist either.